Here we go.
Suprema, Suprema roll call.
All of us.
Suprema, Suprema roll call. Suprema, Suprema roll call. Suprema, Suprema roll call.
He is the best.
Yeah.
Nothing to prove.
Yeah.
We get the honor.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Hawks.
Suprema roll call.
Sorry.
Suprema, Suprema roll call.
My name is Phonte.
Yeah.
Back on the block.
Yeah.
My man Tariq G's.
Yeah.
Yaphet Kodo Ak.
Roll call. Suprema, Suprema roll call. Suprema, Suprema roll call.
My name is Suga.
Yeah.
I shall proceed
Yeah.
to eat your shrooms
Yeah.
and smoke your weed.
Suprema, Suprema roll call. Suprema, Suprema roll call.
I'm unpaid bill.
Yeah.
I'm not better than you.
Yeah.
But thanks to Phonte,
Yeah.
I'm a better rapper than you.
Roll call. Suprema.
Wait, what?
Watch the documentary.
Suprema, Suprema roll call.
It's Laiya.
Yeah.
And my favorite MC.
Yeah.
Who else?
Yeah.
Motherfucking Reggie's.
Roll call.
I thought you gonna say motherfucking me.
Suprema roll
What are you,
call.
Sadat X?
Suprema.
Suprema roll call.
It's Rick G's.
Yeah.
I give all y'all dap.
Yeah.
But y'all gonna have to chill.
Yeah.
I ain't know I was gonna have to rap.
Roll call. Suprema. Suprema roll call. Suprema. Suprema roll call. Suprema. Suprema roll call. Suprema. Suprema roll call.
Whoa.
Wait, you know, like Sadat X will
Yes.
stop a bar like he'll stop at bar 14 for the man, and he'll wait like 12 bars before he finishes. You just pulled a Sadat X.
That was a Sadat
I
X.
did, because I realized when he said Rick G, I said Rick G's like too many times, and
That was a really long pause.
man, fuck that, I'm celebrating, because this shit took forever.
Yeah, I can get used to this. This is another in-person
Yeah.
classic.
Yeah.
Dustin on the
One of the
theme.
most anticipated episodes of all Questlove Supreme time.
Exactly.
Since we started.
Stop playing.
The amount of times that Laiya has been in the group chat
Oh
saying,
my fucking God.
when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? I don't know. For me, if you're old enough to know the reference, this will feel like the anytime that Eddie Murphy comes on the Arsenio Hall show. Where it's like, how do you act professional with someone that you've known for 4 decades of all your life? Like, you know. This is another episode of Questlove Supreme, ladies and gentlemen. Questlove. Wait, where the hell are we?
That's a good question.
Like, did we go back in
Threshold
time?
recording studio.
It's like
Yes,
old
Phonte.
time.
We're at Threshold recording studio.
Yes.
I feel like I'm in 1936 and also 1996.
Threshold Studios.
This is an actual studio.
Yeah, 45th between 10th and 11th.
Yo, you dropping my location?
You'll be gone by the time it come out.
It's okay, we're not live.
Yo, it's also too. Today is the 13th or 12th anniversary of Undone. Undone dropped today, December 6th.
Wow. Okay.
Wow,
Happy
Let's hear that.
anniversary,
Awesome,
y'all.
man.
12th, year 12, right? I think it's 12.
Yeah,
Okay.
2011. Yeah.
I'm getting numb to Roots album anniversaries.
I know, right?
Just be like,
I got so many of them.
I know, man.
What a beautiful privilege. That's beautiful.
All right, so yeah, Sugar Steve, how's life?
Good.
That's nice. Bill, you made it. What's
I
up?
did. I'm happy to be here.
Wait, you gave me like a half a second to say how's life.
How's life? How's life?
Great.
Great. Unpaid Bill, what's going on?
Great. Everything's good. I'm happy to be here. I thought I wasn't going to be here. The weather sort of fucked me, and here I am.
Okay, that's awesome. Phonte Coleman,
That's awesome.
this is the first time we're talking to you after seeing the documentary, man.
Yeah.
How's the response been?
Howard.
It's been amazing, man. Kind of overwhelming. But nah, man. It's being received exactly how we want it to be received.
That's awesome.
We made it with a lot of love, and we getting a lot of love back. So check it out, Little
It's
Brother
dope.
NC. Go check it out.
Yeah.
All right, and what's the next move after the documentary?
I don't know. I mean, we finished this. We finished the doc November 7th. We had our first screening November 9th, and then we released it November 24th. So I ain't trying to do shit.
Okay.
Goals.
I'm just sitting full of
Yeah.
Y'all two don't know about that life, not doing shit.
Yeah. I ain't
tired.
about that not doing shit.
Hey, I hear you.
Man, right back to the lab.
Well, I mean, I will say that, you know, it was real good to see, because it was also just like unprecedented territory, because not since maybe Metallica's Some Kind of Monster have I seen a documentary of a group really do self-analytical work, because normally it's just like cut and paste, and then we did this, and then rap happened. You know, that sort of unsung method.
Exactly.
And so it was good to watch.
Thank
and
you,
actually
man.
Our guest today and myself are at the very beginning of our process.
Yeah, so we finna bite.
Yeah.
We finna jack that whole concept.
That's what you do with the
Y'all got a
youth.
lot of work
really,
to do.
really break our shit. Like, yo, man, how come we, you know what I mean? Like, yo, down to the very last compound and shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's what you do with the youth, though, y'all. Y'all let the youth put themselves out there, and then we you know,
No, that's
we
true.
learn from
True
the
that.
youth.
True that.
Thank you,
Laiya,
Phonte.
how's it going?
I'm good. Let's just go. I'm ready. I'm speaking for the listeners. They are in my body.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have literally one of the best wordsmiths that ever entered the realm of hip hop, which sort of sounds like an empty intro, but it's actually literally true. What actually makes this even more special, apropos, is that we're here kind of to celebrate a new chapter in your life, which is kind of you opening up to the world, because you've been very mysterious to the entire world. And yes, this is awkward as fuck, giving a Don Cornelius introduction. No, but I absolutely make no buns.
You don't make buns?
No, I don't. I absolutely make no bones about our guest today being not only just one of the greatest people of all time, but, you know, it's kind of weird to refer to, I don't know how to refer to Tariq, because he's literally probably been the most consistent figure in my life, period. Like, I've seen him on a regular basis for the last 37 years of my life. Like, I haven't done that with my mother, my father, my sister, any girlfriend. Like, it's kind of my work spouse, which I don't even have shame in that, man. This is a commitment. The greatest of all time, Tariq Black Thought Trotter, is on Questlove Supreme.
Clap for him.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So,
What?
God is
oh
great.
God. See, the Arsenio Eddie thing starting already.
Yes.
Before
downhill
any
fast.
LL moment, there's always, you hear in the background, God is great. God is great. Initially my plan was like to lay back and let the four of you go at it, to ask whatever, but even I have questions. I'm mid-read of the book right now, but Laiya, since you are bursting at the seams, start.
Okay, well, let's just start with the fact that this is one of the most anticipated projects, at least in our circle of people. We've been waiting to hear your story for probably the last couple decades, so I want to know why now, and why the way that you decided to do it, and how you, and not why the way you decided to do it, but how you decided to do it.
You know, I think the why now of it all is I kind of feel like now or never. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there's a certain urgency that is very tangible, that, you know, is to, I don't know, I feel like there is like it's time to do all the things, right? We have to, you know, sort of do it or not. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was now or never. It was, you know, if not now, then when. It was, you know, why not now? And, you know, all the different ways that I could, you know, self-sabotage in my mind and worst case scenario it out, I was able to resolve, you know, and yeah, it just felt like, you know, the best move, both, you know, for me, for my sanity, for my mental peace, and, you know, just to give people who have been longtime supporters of the Roots something new to latch on to, and, you know, something to identify with, and, you know, something that they're able to, you know, see representation of themselves in, to some extent, hopefully. Yeah, it just felt very necessary. So.
And real quick, what's this process? Because I told Phonte this morning, we've been talking about your book a lot. And between May the Lord Watch, his documentary, and the Upcycled Self, they're very special because we are seeing not just two of our favorite artists, two of our favorite MCs, but we are seeing two Black men of certain ages reveal themselves in ways that we may not be used to seeing film-wise and on paper. So when talking to Phonte and knowing that he started his process years ago because the onion has to be peeled, how does that work for you as far as, I'm going to do this book, I'm going to bring this, but I know you had to go through okay, do I want to talk about this? Or how do I want to talk about that? And I ain't going to do that, but somebody had to go to you. No, you have to do that. You have to say these things. How do you do that part?
Well, this isn't my first attempt at a memoir. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like this is the third time. So third time's a charm. You know what I'm saying? I partnered up with a couple different people, collaborators in the past, and great minds, and we've got hours of interview, audio and video stuff, and we took lots of notes and sort of did all of the like the groundwork. But I wasn't able to get through the process in either of those instances. And I think in this dynamic, like between me and Jasmine Martin, Jasmine is from Philadelphia. You know what I'm saying? As am I. We worked together on so many different things over the past 5 or 6 years or so. We had just did a comparable sort of project for Audible during quarantine in 7 years. So like the bones were there. So it was just about how were we going to approach it, and we wrote this book the way that we would record an album or work on a screenplay or do anything from musical theater. It was sort of from the inside out. You know what I'm saying, on some Quentin Tarantino shit. I think that's the beauty of just being my first time. You know what I mean? Doing the thing. There's a bliss. They don't say ignorance is bliss for nothing, right? So there's something in the abandon of not knowing better, not knowing the right way to do a thing. So you just do it, like the artistic or most efficient or creative way, and that's what I'm experiencing right now.
How many years was this book in the making?
It took about 1.5 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the first, you said the first 2 attempts that you made at doing the kind of this biography, what made those, I guess, the wrong attempts? Like what didn't work about those? I
think it was just I was sort of relinquishing my story, you know what I mean? And in both of those situations, it was almost as if I was along for the ride, because these were 2 far more experienced authors. And you know what I mean, people that I had, I still have a great deal of respect for, but they just aren't familiar. Like, no one could tell your story the way you can tell it, but I wasn't, ready for whatever reason to tell it myself. So I figured by, just association, I would receive, the same sort of validation as if I just, jumped out there on my own, and that wasn't the case. And it wasn't ready. You know what I mean? Things happen when as they should, and I don't think either of those, like respectfully, it just wasn't, like the right situation or time. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. We had Will on the show, and he was talking about how, he had conversations with family and people like, yo, this is coming. Did you have to have those talks with your people, and how did they go? Mm-hmm.
I had some of those talks with people whose opinion, you know what I mean, it mattered to me how they feel. And like there was lots that we had to omit. You know what I mean, like my uncle, who is my father's brother, my
Luke
oldest, surviving relative. He like
Willie Goldstein?
No, that's my grandmother's brother, but my father's brother, Luke Mine. He likes to talk, and he has no filter. You know what I'm saying? Once you get in your 80s, it's like, So there's very much that had to be omitted, and some names had to be changed, but then there was a bunch of names that were left in there, and those were the people, I had to holler at, like, my auntie and them, you know what I'm saying? Like, like, you gonna be good, you know what I'm saying? And then, some homies, like, there were a couple people who I grew up with who, just some minor inconsistencies. Like there was one thing that I saw, like in the book, it says that these 2 kids that were my boys started this organization of writers called TET, and they didn't start TET. They ain't even right. You know what I'm saying? Now when I was doing the audio book, I caught it, because I did my own audio book, so I caught it and I corrected it. But I wasn't gonna have to. You got to come out the pocket if it's like, oh yeah, it's one more thing I want to change. So it's like, yo, that just has to stay in there. But I hit them up like, yo, you read the book, it's gonna say X, Y, and Z. I mean, not really, to make sure it was good with the dudes who were credited as starting the group, but to make sure it was good with the dudes who were in it. You know what I'm saying? Hold up, these things they had nothing to do with TET. You know what I'm saying? But everybody's all good. And folks that I grew up with, like people from my block, like who were in those scenarios, in those moments in time that I reconjure in the book, have read it and told me that it was a great read and that it was, the transportive in the way that we intended it to be.
In the book, you talk about specifically a fight you and Ahmir had in London. How do you think it changed y'all's dynamic?
Well, I think if you have a close friend, you and a close friend get in, you like come to fisticuffs, like you'll come to blows. Something is forever changed, right? If it's between two people who are used to fighting all the time, then it's sometimes it's far little. Like with that change is, it's less significant than if that's somebody's only fight. Like if I'm going through my mind, I can't remember how many fights I've been in. I done been stomped out, I win some, lose some, bunch of fights and shit. You know what I'm saying? If that's like your only fight, if you had like 1, 2, 3 altercations, then I would think it would be just more impactful. So that's just how I understood it. I think for me, it was something that like later that day, I moved on, like, you know what I'm saying? Definitely, again, like something had been changed, but it was such a insignificant change for me. But I just feel like in Ahmir's, world, there was something that, there was a line that had been crossed that, we could never sort of uncross, And
I feel like I'm at my own funeral.
Nah.
I was going to feel it,
Yeah, nah, but I mean, you could.
Well, that's been, it was both. That was
both jabbing or like?
Nah, it was a quick fist, couple fists, but more wrestling.
It was like wrestling.
Okay.
It was
like a chokehold.
But really,
it was WrestleMania up in that joint.
Did you get a few Ahmir? Did you get a few?
I think I just sat on top of him. I was like 290 pounds. Like, I never fought.
Corrected the situation.
But the thing is, like, when you're my size, like, people just rightfully think like, oh, I'm never fucking with him. Right. So I never had a fight in my life.
You've never been tested. Wow.
That was the only fight I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
So
that's deep.
It was kind of weird.
Do y'all understand that for the majority of the public, they don't really get to see, like, Tariq, you writing a whole chapter about Ahmir and how you guys met and how y'all connected. In real life, people watch y'all and they watch you on the stage, they watch him from the drums, but they really don't see y'all ever connect. And I gotta say, as a fan, and I feel like family, friends, not so much, but I remember, I said to Phonte this morning, I remember the one time and the first time that I saw y'all like embrace. Right? Mm-hmm. I remember how it felt to see it. I remember where I was. I was at the Black Lily at the 5 spot. I felt emotional because it was just something that I hadn't seen.
Why was we embracing at the 5 spot?
I don't. Y'all was talking. Y'all was having a private conversation at the bar. Y'all was having a private conversation at the bar, and it wasn't like let me hug you, bro. But it was just like a show of affection that I had never seen between the two of you. And I'm just curious, are y'all conscious?
I thought it was just like, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
But y'all don't do I see you tomorrow. Hug, bro. I'll see you tomorrow. Like, that's not something that people are used to seeing.
It's weird. Okay, so I'm despite whatever the perception, I don't know what people think when they see me. Like, I've heard I'm super arrogant. I hear I'm happy-go-lucky or goofy.
Just a little disconnected sometimes,
Yeah, I'm very aloof. I hear that a lot.
A little bit. Yeah.
But one thing I'm definitely, like, the one thing I had to work on in the pandemic was really letting go of old ideas and perceptions. And the one thing that I was always taught, that my dad always taught me, and that's basically because he went through a situation with a business that he started with his brothers. And one of his big rules was always like, never start business with family. You can never ever mix business and your friendships. And I've seen the toll that business took on my dad. Like he lost so much money. I think I admitted it on the show. Like, we lived 3 years without gas in the house.
Oh, wow.
And it was like either private school for Ahmir or gas. This is before Kappa.
They pick. Wow.
Oh yeah, there's some crazy shit with me. So that said, I always like once I realized, oh, we're running a business, then I wondered like, wow, I wonder how like will shit change? Like, will we still spend the night at each other's house? Like, can we be friends and run a business? So I was, and even when I joke about the Gryffindor Slytherin thing,
right?
In my mind, it was always like, now that we have a business, I should keep a professional distance so that the business can last longer. But I also knew that I was sacrificing, because I do miss those times where like we just hang out and you know, watch movies and all that stuff. But in my mind, I think I was carrying a lot of my father's beliefs. I started carrying on my own, and the one thing I thought about was like, oh man, I mean, when Uncle Rosie and Dad and da 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 da. So now that I'm starting a business with someone that's like a brother to me, I could never do that.
There's something to that, right? You know what I'm saying? Like that isn't like lots of OGs have that philosophy, and it's not for not for nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, like just to speak to that same sort of thing, you know, I mean, Shawn and I, Shawn who manages the Roots, that is my cousin. That's who I'm talking about. Yeah. That's who, that nigga just left when I burned down the house. You know what I'm saying? He was, the fucking, his spot on the floor was still warm. But, you know, we grew up only, 2 years apart from one another and just really close as cousins in the same way that our mothers were. They were like sisters, but they were aunt and niece. And he and I were, great cousins, but, we were more like brothers.
You wrote beautifully about that too.
But no, that changed. I mean, we went to, college together, that whole thing. But once he became, the Roots business manager, and once he partnered up with Rich, there was something that, it changed. Like there's something that changed. And
I always wondered that.
It's like, we used to kick it all the time. We go get drinks. We at parties. Yeah. I talk to you in the morning. We on the phone. And there's something that, there is a consciousness of maintaining the business bar that I think there's something admirable in being able to separate the professionalism, in that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like he and I are brothers, Shawn and I are cousins. I don't think that's ever going to change, but for this brand's sake, for the sake of the business, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So, I completely understand. I know, like, there are lots of other examples that have been set. You know what I mean? Other cats, other, artists that have been collaborative in a comparable way, but none of them have stood the test of time that we have. So it must be something to that shit.
It is weird, though. Once during the Bionic period, I caught De La
Bionics. Okay, gotcha.
Bionics, sorry. This is what, 2003, I think, 2002, 2003.
Yeah, 2002, yeah.
I caught De La in a 20-minute candid moment. I forget where we were, either like a photo shoot or something like that. And I was far away, but I was keeping my eye on him. And I was like, wait a minute. They actually like each other?
Yeah.
Like they're friends? Because it's also a thing where you got to understand that to endure, and we can't stress enough the amount of stress and turmoil those first 4 years were daily, every day. Like my one dream of why this has to work is I will never ever go back to 5212 Osage Avenue. I don't know if you remember Jungle Fever, when that moment when Annabella Sciorra had to, in a moment of defeat, have to come back home to her dad.
The crib,
And my worst nightmare was this one, because even before things fall apart, every day I had to deal with hearing my dad sort of say, you got to get a real job, or you doing a video, but where's the cable bill? And what about the electric bill? And da 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 da. So in my mind, it's like I can never. But the thing is that we have to be in tight, the way that you describe being on that tour in tight circles. I've never spent that much amount of time with any human that long. So it's you got to maintain a professional relationship and your brothers, and you know, and again, you're going to live out the examples of what was given
Of what
to you.
you, no, 100%.
And all I
The
thought
wild
about,
shit, you know, like there was some people who were in the Roots who did that to the extreme. Like it's a delicate balance. You know what I mean? You have cats who, I mean, on more than one occasion, more than one member of the Roots who we travel, they act like they don't know niggas. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, like fucking, like dude, like we in fucking, you know what I mean, Calicut right now. Like we all we got. Like you really acting like, you know what I'm saying? Like we didn't come together, but you know, and I think it was, you know, in that, I think people did that for some of the same reasons, but it's just extreme, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a delicate balance.
It's weird you mentioned the hug thing, because there's one moment I remember, which was at Dilla's funeral. And I believe either John or Ma Dukes sort of said, like not shot me a look, because everyone was sitting in the front row. And of course, you know, me carries the flag for Dilla, like I should be front, but I wanted to sit in the back. And it seemed kind of odd because it was a large church, but it wasn't that many people. It was like maybe 40, 50 people in a place that could hold like 300. Like Dilla's buried in the same cemetery that Michael Jackson and Elizabeth Taylor are. So it's like a large, sprawling estate, but there's only like 50 people there. And I purposely sat like in the last row, like with 17 rows like ahead of me of emptiness. And at the time, my girlfriend was like, well, why are we sitting back here? And I was just like, it's so foolish now, but my whole thing was like, oh man, I can't let Tariq see me in a vulnerable, weak moment. You can never hold pre-2020 me. Now I look at it like,
well, now that we've read the book and we have had these conversations in the last 7 years, is about, you know, I had moments reading that book even when Tariq was describing your home situation, like with the padlock and
on the inside.
Now, you know what I remember.
No one ever broke into my crib.
What I remember about Dilla's funeral was, yeah, definitely, you know, like just how, you know, gargantuan the sort of the space was. We were only in the first few rows and stuff. But yeah, I remember being like, yo, where the fuck is Ahmir at? You know what I'm saying? And then I just remember like when it was over, I think at one point, like I connected with Dave New York. When it was over, we hugged. I fucking cried. Like that was the first time I was able to, like I hadn't cried the whole time of hearing, you know what I mean, throughout the whole shit. I saw Ahmir after the funeral and I just started bawling.
We started, it was such, so it felt weird to me because like I maintained such a professional distance thing, but this is like, oh shit, now I gotta switch the light on and go back to 1991 when we were born, you know what I mean?
So after that, do you go back, after the hug and the embrace, does it slowly open up things or do you go back to?
So here's the funny thing. All right, so I'm in, you know, and I've shared my psychological journey and all that stuff. So I did a session once and I kind of slipped. And she said, well, you know, what was Tariq's opinion on that? And I was like, well, no, he's cool, you know, whatever. He said, no, what did he say verbatim? I said, well, he didn't say it, but no, he'll be cool. She's like, wait, how often do you talk to Tariq?
That's a good question.
And she's the kind of person, that if she sees a scab, she'll just start scratching. And she kept wanting to go there, and I'm just trying to like Matrix bullet dodge avoid it. And she clearly saw my discomfort, and she was just asking basic questions like, well, how long do you talk? Does Tariq know that like you're in therapy and da-da-da-da and that you're turning a new leaf?
Yes.
And I was like, come on, man, that's how you feel. You know the thing like where you you don't say like, oh, I love you, man. And, you know, and I had a hard time just coming to grips with myself, like looking in the mirror and all that stuff. And so the way that she sort of gets me, the part that I never reveal, is her method's a little bit different. Let's just say there's a certain amount of cash money in escrow in which I have to, and it's December, so I'm gonna have to start write a contract of what my goals are for 2024. And if I don't stick to that, then she will present my worst nightmare, which is, okay, I'm gonna take this money and donate it all to the GOP. No, okay. I'll stop eating sugar. And it's almost like she has to mind trick and force me to do, because I'll just say like, yeah, I'll talk to him next week, next month, next week. So here's the thing. So it's almost akin to that of like, you know, when you get a girl's number in high school and you're in the mirror, like I'm in the mirror in my dressing room, like, all right, so you know, I'm in therapy, and like I'm rehearsing my lines like a week ahead of time and shit. And she's like calling me, all right, so what did Tariq say about your thing? And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. She's like, I'm gonna take this money.
Your relationship is a hostage negotiation.
It is.
I mean, that's what I'm hearing, right?
Like I'm the person that has to be threatened to do the right thing. Like I'll expose you if you don't, you know, take care of yourself. So I was like, all right. I said, so, and this was like during the pandemic. So I was like, all right, Reek, yeah, so, you know, I'm kind of doing self-work and stuff and, you know, microdosing and doing a lot of self-analytical.
Doing a lot of drugs and shit.
Here we go.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I got my life together. I'm microdosing now.
So I did like this whole shit, and I mentioned one of the people, and I was like, yeah. So, you know, I'm reading this book by this guy named Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he talks about how like communication, and Tariq's like, oh yeah, Dr. Joe, yeah, I'm down with that. And in my head, I'm like, holy shit, wait, what does he know about that? I said, you know about that, Dr. Joe? He's like, yeah, you know, like years ago, you know, when I first started therapy, and then I'm like, holy shit, you're in therapy? Like,
Yay!
And when I got back, I was like, yo, I didn't know. I thought I was the only one like doing the self-improvement thing, and Tariq's like beat me by like years.
Really? Years? Really?
Yeah, a little bit.
He was like 4 years ahead of me.
Yeah.
I started in 2020. He was like
What was the
2015
catalyst?
Well, you know, I I'd become close friends with a fella named Kyle Vaines, and Kyle, he worked with me and Mark Jenkins and Ray Angry. He was like a supplement dude, you know, that worked at this, you know, this gym that we were training at. Whenever Mark would come to work with D'Angelo, we would all, you know what I mean, be working down in the financial district at that spot. So at one point, Kyle disclosed to Ray and I about how his girlfriend at the time, his fiance, was a huge Roots fan. You know, she was terminally ill. And really the only thing that was getting her through was our song Tomorrow, the one with Raheem. You know, me and Raheem. And yeah, so you know, she wound up, you know, transitioning. We all kept in touch, and as luck would have it, we were out in LA. I think like her funeral, her memorial was like a few days before we would have been out there for Grammys or whatever. So me and Ray went out there early, performed at her memorial, and became, you know, closer friends with Kyle. So Kyle and I, that's like, he's my hiking buddy. You know what I'm saying? We meet up at different places around the country and, you know, just go on walks. And, you know, he was always heavy into meditation. And when he started rocking with Joe Dispenza, he started sending me his meditations early on, and I couldn't get with it, you know what I'm saying? Because of dude's voice.
Weird.
Yeah, he talks weird, you know what I'm saying? But he just kept bombarding me with the shit until, you know, like I got one meditation that was, you know, short enough for me to get into. And it was also, it wasn't so long that, you know, it started to, cause I tried to do it with my family and everything, and they was like, yo, I can't do this. Like, why is dude talking that way? But once you get over how he's saying the shit, you start to see results and you start to feel, you know what I'm saying, different. So yeah, I've been rocking with it for a minute, but that's how I got turned on to it, you know what I mean? And I think Kyle was the first person that gave me that book, Becoming Supernatural.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is meditation, is that still a practice today that you still do?
It is. But you know what really, you know, tripped me out was, I didn't even realize when I discovered Joe Dispenza's meditations that he was the same dude from that documentary, What the Bleep Do We Know, that he did the water experiment, you know what I'm saying? That Japanese dude does, who wrote, you know, the Hidden Messages in Water, where, you know, if I take a glass of water, if I take 3 glasses of water, say I take 2 glasses of water from the same source, and I, you know, for a certain amount of time, a week or 2 weeks, just curse and talk down to this glass of water, and, you know, I praise this container of water, and then we freeze them, and then look at it under a microscope, you'll see that the water that I've focused all the negative energy on is going to, you know what I mean, produce just all these, just that ugly sort of, like you're going to be able to visibly see the ugliness that I projected. Wow. Yeah, it's like I projected toxicity onto, you know what I mean, this water. And the water that you know, praise and that you hit, you know, focus your positive energy on, like the images are like, you know, beautiful, you know, one of one, like snowflakes, you know what I mean, when you look at it under a microscope.
Because we're 70% made of water,
right?
Human beings.
So this dude whose meditations he and I do, I was already a fan of his from the water shit. Yeah, I mean, really years, probably 10, 12 years ago. And then I didn't realize, oh shit, this is that same dude. Then, you know what I mean, I started listening to really his podcast interviews and stuff because he was like paralyzed from the neck down from an accident.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, just through mind control, he was able to, you know, focus on different parts of his body and bring it all back. You know what I mean? So he's the real deal in that, you know. He talks weird though.
So yes, he talks weird, but that was the thing. Like I didn't realize that Tariq was actually more advanced in this shit than I was. Like I think I'm like bringing some like shit where, oh man, motherfucker's gonna start clowning me and you all like.
Nah, we was waiting on you to get here, bro.
Right, exactly. That's what happened. So
yo, I'm in therapy. Man, doing white people shit.
Right, exactly. So.
Times are changing, y'all. I love it.
Yeah, because just doing the work and doing, you know, as with most of us discovered, for a lot of us, doing the work is it's a vulnerable thing to put yourself through. Yeah. And oftentimes we're looking at ourselves through the eyes of what others will think about me and all that stuff. And
right.
It really wasn't until mid 2020 in which a lot of us were like, okay, mental health and, you know, not just church.
Yeah, we had no choice.
But I gotta just say, at least for your story, Reek, like you would hope, just based on the surface of what we knew before you presented this book to us, that you were in therapy, because it always just felt like your life, it was heavy.
Yeah, you know, I've definitely, you know, I've done different sorts of therapy, and you know, I think this book, just the process, has been, you know, it was a therapeutic, cathartic sort of thing for me to work through. I knew I didn't want to write a tell-all, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm still super private. Yeah. And there is much that, you know what I mean, I just still hold close to the chest. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot about, I mean, shit, a lot of the shit it's embarrassing, it's fucking, it's, you know what I mean?
What was the hardest thing for you to, in that realm, what was one of the hardest things it was for you to express in that book?
The hardest thing that I talk about in the book is, you know, firing a pistol into a building that I knew my mother was inside of. You know what I'm saying? That was, you know, I mean, it was hard, super hard. I mean, in that moment, you know, it made perfect sense.
It was so brave of you, and I appreciated you for introducing us to your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Nah, for real.
She was like, I mean, I've never even met a high-ranking woman in the Nation of Islam.
Yeah, we was talking about that.
Like,
yeah, she wasn't a joke.
Breathe.
I was going to ask you another part in the book you mentioned, you know, just relationships that your behavior, you know, you knew you kind of ruined in some ways. How did you go about fixing those relationships, and what did that look like? Some
of those relationships I haven't been able, you know, they've been irreparable. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, but you know, you got to swallow it, right? One of the, you know, I mean, we would all hope that you'd be able to make it all good with like your nuclear family at some point, right? So I was, you know, I did have hopes that, I don't know, even though I refer to him as my half brother in this book, you know what I mean? I only have one brother, so I would, you know, it was my hopes that he was gonna read the book, and I don't know, like that would be a springboard for some self-revelation, some discovery within himself that would lead to, I don't know, some sort of, you know, peace. But yeah, just as luck would have it, like the crazy shit was, I found out that they found his body. Like, you know what I'm saying, my brother was, I don't think there was any foul play, but he passed away. And I found out when I was in Philly to do a book event, like the first book event with Mark Lamont
Hill.
Yeah.
So this is recent. This
is recent, yeah. But you know, they
I did not know this.
So during this for the past 2 weeks, while I've been on this run, like promoting this book, I've been having to, you know, shoot back and forth to Philly and figure out the funeral arrangement. I mean, you know, he never wanted a funeral or anything like that, but you know, just to get his remains, you know, cremated and that whole process, it's been a lot. And I didn't take any time off from, you know, Tonight Show or any of that either, because I just been, you know, just trying to choose my battle. So I just made it happen. But
when's the last time y'all communicated?
The last time he and I communicated was, man, maybe it was, it's been about 2 years or so. You know what I mean? He reached out, I know, like within the past, like 2 months, he reached out, but he wasn't able to get in contact.
Oh, man.
You know? Yeah.
So one question I had, how do you, I mean, Ahmir's talked about it as well, but like when you are the one in your family that makes it, right?
Yeah.
How do you go about setting up boundaries with your family in terms of, okay, this is what I can do, this is what I'm not gonna do? How did y'all figure that out?
I think over time, you know, those boundaries just sort of reveal themselves, right? In situations where it's extended family. But with your parents, with your, I mean, I would imagine with your parents, you know what I'm saying? But like with your siblings, with your, you know, with anyone in your family who is close enough to feel that level of entitlement, it's crazy. Like it could, you know, like it could, it's, for many of us, it's a deal breaker. You know what I'm saying? I had my brother on a salary for a long time, you know, where he was, you know, he never had to do anything. He just get a check every week.
That's not always the best thing for them, though, right?
You know, and it was like, I mean, but I tried all different sorts of configurations of, you know, trying to set him up for self-care and to be able to, you know, best take care of my grandmother too at the time before she passed away, and you know, to no avail. You know what I'm saying?
Have your how have your kids? Because you talked about briefly your older kids, and of course your younger two, but how have they received the book, and are they aware of everything that you have put in that?
You know, my daughter Celia, she read a couple drafts and she's read the book. Ooh. So she
and how old is she?
That is weird.
Yeah, Celia's 17.
17, okay.
Yeah.
Like I write
Very
books
mature
knowing that my family will never read them.
Yeah, but nah, he can't do that.
She's read a couple drafts and she's read the book, and you know, she loves it. She you know, she was brought to tears on a couple different instances. But my other kids, I know Ahmir hasn't read it.
I wanted to say that too. That
Ahmir,
was the
Ahmir has
other
not
thing
read it, and you know,
I
don't know what's up with Ahmir this year. Ahmir is a.
I love the way you just dropped that. Like everybody knows that Black Thought has a son named Ahmir. I just need everybody.
He's not talking about that.
Yes.
But no, he's about to be 24. Wow. And he was just always so, you know, idyllic, you know, that I feel like now it's so shocking. Like he be forgetting, you know what I mean? He's forgot my birthday this year, hit me a couple days late, which is, it's not huge, but it's like, wow, like who is this? You know what I'm saying? He like, oh, my bad, Pops, I just been.
Mushrooms.
Right, you know what I mean? But I'm sure he hasn't read the book yet, because he's just, you know, he'll have to probably be up here for the holidays and in my presence, and then he'll, you know, crack it.
You've had conversations with like Ahmir and stuff about this evolution and these stories of your family and like how you've upcycled.
Yeah. You know, I've always tried to, you know, just be transparent with my kids about that from which we sort of, you know, came. But it's hard to get them interested. You know what I mean? I drive around like, you know, this is where I went to school. I used to live like in this tiny structure. You know what I mean? This is how far, let me show you how far I walked to first grade. You know what I mean? And I say, okay, we start here. And then I'm driving. They like, we ain't get there yet. I'm like, nah. You know
and we driving. I was walking.
I'm not making this shit up. Yes, I was walking. And maybe there was a path shoveled through the snow, but maybe there wasn't. You know what I mean? And they just, you know, they lose interest. So I try not to impress it upon them. But I think it's because, you know, they're just so, they've come up in a bubble. So there's that disconnect, you know what I mean? And it's part of what we do. This is part of the, you know, proverbial having overcome. The way that entitlement plays out, it plays out in different ways, and it depends on, you know, I think it boils down to, you know, I mean, we all spare the rod now, but, you know, I think it boils down to how much time has passed, maybe how many generations have passed, you know, since the rod has been spared. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it's wild. I try not to force it on them, but just a couple weeks ago when we were leaving a book event in Philly, I went to Philly to do something Oh no, the one I was talking about with Mark, and it was in my old neighborhood. So we were on our way home, and just as we were on our way home, my son Tariq, who's 8, was like, he said, "Joe, next time we come to Philly, could we see, one of the places you used to live, like maybe the house that you burned down?" And we were like 2 blocks away from there. So I got to, now because he had expressed interest, I took him to the block. I showed him, where I went to preschool, showed him the house that I, set on fire, and where I used to go to the corner store and that whole thing. And, not that he, cared, but I showed him where Chubby Checker used to live. And yeah, but now it's he has a, there was, because he expressed interest, I think that memory, but it'll sit with him in a different way. But yeah, my other kids, they don't be caring.
Okay, I kind of want to carjack this interview. I know we're talking about the book, but I also know a big part. I also know a big part of Tariq's existence is that in Roots world, everyone knows Ahmir, but no one knows Tariq. Kind of the ways where we're opposite is last night I went to bed at 4:20 a.m. I'm certain you were probably up at 3 a.m. What is your morning routine?
I usually go to bed around 9 or 9:30.
Who does that?
Well,
you're not in 3rd grade.
But I got a son who's in 2nd grade. Yeah, and he be wearing me out.
Oh, so
so it's
you gotta live your kids' lives.
First and foremost, I have to be awake for as many consistent hours as possible just to police his sugar intake. Ooh. If Tariq wakes up at 6 a.m. and we don't wake up till 8, there's been 2 hours where he could just roll through the crib, grabbing snacks, stashing shit, eating, candy for breakfast, and then I wake up at 8. And then
that's a real shit.
Yeah, super real. Yeah. So, so there's that. There's also, if there's anything, if you talked about me wanting to watch The Guild, if there's anything that I like to watch or that I want to read or work on or listen to, it has to happen before the house is up. So it works out that I'm in bed right after, when Tariq goes to sleep at 9:30, I go to bed, but then I wake up at like 4:35 and then I'm good and everybody else is asleep and I have an hour and a half to 2 hours, to do whatever, right?
What time do they wake up?
They wake up at 7. They wake up at 7, and it's wild because that gives me anxiety. So Laiya has a 7:20 train to make it to school in New York City, and she gets up at 7 o'clock, and she has to walk the dog and be at the train. And I'm like, yo, how are you doing this? But she makes it happen. She makes it happen.
My kids do not make that happen.
Yeah, she makes it happen. Nope. Michelle gets up at 7, and Tariq gets to school every day at the absolute latest that he can arrive. You know what I'm saying?
I know you're big on food. Are you the food person in the house?
I am. Yeah, I cook. I do all the grocery shopping, and I cook almost 80-90% of the grocery shopping, and I cook 80-90% of the meals. But yeah, also in the morning, I do that Joe Dispenza 25-minute morning meditation.
Okay.
I knock that out.
Workout? What's your physical?
Sometimes I work out, you know what I mean? Like when I'm in a workout period, I work out.
This Thanksgiving.
I don't even know
right.
Like,
if that's the vibe, then I work
December,
out.
Nigga, it's nothing.
Because you're looking good.
When I was fresh off the LL tour, you know what I mean? And I found out that Ahmir's trainer happened to live 10 minutes from my crib. And, we had gotten close on the road. It was like, yeah, cool, let's work out. You know what I mean? I did it for a solid month after we got off the road. And then, we trickled off. You know what I'm saying? It's Thanksgiving. But yeah, I'll be back, January, no doubt.
Right.
Yeah, January, no doubt.
When is your, I want to ask, when in terms of your writing, like writing songs, writing rhymes, how often do you write and what does writer's block look like for you?
I write as soon as I get home from work at night, I eat dinner, and then I go into my office and I write. I either try to read for at least an hour or write for at least an hour before I come back to, because my office is over the garage. So it's almost like I come in the crib, I have dinner, and then they say, oh, you leaving us? You know what I mean? Then I'm out. It's like I go across the driveway and then I work, some more. And I do the same thing in the morning.
I want to ask about this Andre 3000 quote that he recently said. I was just talking about this with Phonte too, where he said that at this age, he's not doing hip hop because what does he have to talk about? Like going to get a colonoscopy.
What rhymes with colonoscopy though?
I don't really get writer's block like that. I'm always able to come up with something just because of the amount of, constant information, like the intake, it's content being projected at me, at every turn. You know what I'm saying? I drive in, I'm listening to PRX, which is all 20-minute chunks of storytelling, which is dope because it gets me into just being a more efficient storyteller. I listen to NPR if I want to hear something in long form. I listen to Urban View for, what I mean, black people politics. And that's it. Like, if I don't get no bars off of that, it's like, that's right. You know what I mean? The Black Eagle, Joe Madison. You know what I mean? But that's the type shit, that's where the bars come from, whether I agree with it or not. You know what I mean? It's always a springboard, like into a thing.
Are you writing like to beats, or you just writing just...
Sometimes I'm writing not to beats, but it's more exciting for me to write to beats. I got a batch of joints from Mad Lib, for example. Like, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, he hit me. He was like, yo, Monday, I'm going to start bombarding you with joints. Boom, Monday rolled around. He sent me like 100 beats. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And then I got the beats, and it was like I narrowed it down to like 18, and I started, vibing to those joints. But yeah, it's exciting now for me, like, to come home and like dig through that sort of that collection. I went to LA. We had a couple sessions in LA over the weekend. I came back, so that's sort of what I've been like chipping away at. But
when you say we had, is that like the Roots had?
Nah.
Okay.
Like,
I just wanted to slide that in.
I went to LA to do a book event at USC, but I'm gonna always, the studio is my church. Like, that's where I feel most at home. So if there's any possibility for me to go and sit in the studio someplace and hear music and chill and smoke and be social, whether I'm actually actively working on the thing or not, then that's what I'm gonna opt for. Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah, I went out there, I did my book thing, and then I went into the studio. I was in the studio with Mad Lib.
One question I had, Richard Nichols. We talk about Undone. Today is the anniversary of Undone. Yeah. That was the second time that I got called to be on the record, and we did one time, and that was the first time with that one, and also How I Got Over. That was the first time I really got to see how integral Rich was to the recording process, because I had never been like in the studio with y'all. Yeah. So I wanted to just hear from you, like, what he was kind of to you as, as a mentor, manager, like what role did he play kind of in?
For me, Rich was a mentor. I've always been big on mentorship, I don't know where I would be, without it. He lived by example, you know what I'm saying, in many ways. And was, he was the roots, above and beyond an executive producer. I always talk about he was the sort of the brains of this operation. When he really, laid down the groundwork for us to be able to, I don't think Ahmir and I would be as self-sufficient as we are, had he not, been focused on that, 10, 20 years before it mattered to us. So, what he was that, he was on both of my, she was, an influence. And, just working with him, like having him in on the process, I knew the bar, I was gonna always be at my best. You know what I'm saying? Always. He was gonna always push us, even when, it might be something that you really feel like you killed it and you have taken it as far as you could take it. Yeah, no, he's gonna, he was the voice of reason, and he would bring you back down to reality in that way. Talk about you working with us in the Roots. I felt threatened by you when you worked with us. Wow, you know what I mean? Man. Just because I was like, how is this? Rich sent you back to the drawing board, but not as much as he was sending us. You know what I mean? And I know it wasn't.
You got it easy.
And I know it wasn't because like we were, his family. It was because he was just more content with what you were doing. So I was like, what the fuck is Phonte doing that? You know what I mean? He only had to rewrite his shit like 10 times. Like, nigga, this is like my 30th fucking, so.
First of all, this is the first time most of us are hearing that somebody could make either one of y'all rewrite. You're right.
Rich was like, when I did the verse for one time, because the thing was, it wasn't one time. It was Now or Never first. Yeah. It was Now or Never, and I came to do that one, and I just wrote a verse because I'm like, okay, so what's the song about Rich? And Rich would send me like a G chat. We'd be on G chat. It'd be this damn long. He was chat GPT for real. I'd be like, okay, nigga, I don't know what none of this shit means. But all right, fuck it, I'm gonna come kill this shit. And so I did my verse, and I just did it in what none of y'all wasn't there. Mm-hmm. It was just me and Spawn in the studio. Mm-hmm. So I think even Richard left, and so I did my joint, and I'm like, all right, I don't know, I guess this works. And so I went to the crib, went to the hotel, and the next morning, He called me and I didn't hear nothing because normally Rich, he would text or I would get something to say, I ain't hear shit. And I'm like, okay. So he called me. He's like, yeah, man. I'm gonna need you to go at it again. I'm like, all right, cool. And so I went again. And I remember the note he gave me was, he was like, I want it to make sense. It can't just be dope as a rap. It has to make sense on the page. Like if you're just reading it as poetry, or as literature, it has to make sense in that way. And I was like, shit, okay, got it. And so then I did the second draft. And then that was when he called me back for The Day with Blue. Yeah. And when he called me back for that, I was like, hell yeah, because that was one, like, I love that fucking song. That's like one of my favorite, even without me on, that's just one of my favorite songs in your catalog. And so we did that one. But through all of those times, man, he was really, because I understood, like, I'm walking into a studio, nigga, it's you, Truck, Porn. That's when Porn was getting his shit off. Like, Porn was hanging shit.
I would show up, like, and I was living in LA at that time.
Yeah, of course,
back and forth. So I would show up and they would, because it was so competitive, they would all, clamor to get their ideas on a beat before I heard it, so that I was, just more married to, that's how I first experienced the composition, right? I would hear, they were like, yo, you got to hear this beat. And the first time they playing it for me, I heard Porn verse on it. You know what I'm saying? So it was competitive in that way. But
by the way, Greg Porn, in case, whatever.
Greg Porn.
Yeah.
But yeah, Phonte, for Rich to even, be concerned enough to send you back to the drawing board.
Man, I appreciate
it. It means that you were brilliant, because he would, just as quick be like, nah, he couldn't give us what we needed. And we would just, move on, because it was so many, other people sort of waiting for that slot.
Listen.
But he was concerned with elevating, hip hop lyricism to literature, and elevating, hip hop culture to fine art. And he was, so always disgusted with the state of black lyricism, like R&B lyrics, like, the shit that, he fuck up the whole Rich fuck up the whole family cookout, just dissecting,
Bro, when we did, I remember we did one time for Undone, and I remember the note he gave me. He was like, you have to be a character. He said, I don't want you to just rap this. Like, you can't just be rapping. You know what I mean? And he played me when I first got there. It was before you got in the studio. He played me Sleep.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he played me Sleep. I was like, oh, this shit hard. And he was like, man, Reek did that like 30 fucking times. Like, I had him doing da-da-da. I'm like, damn. So I went in I did mine. And I mean, it was, in that particular case, the lyrics I got right, because he was pretty much, by that time I kind of knew the science. So I'm like, okay, I see what he's going for now. But the performance, like, he drilled me on that shit. He was like, nah, I want you to do this word, say it like that. I'm like, all right.
You know why I hate doing lyrics.
I do a vocal.
And you know what Rich would do? Rich would do with me sometimes. He would, just get me to do it that many times, and then he'd do a composite.
That's what
he'd do a composite 100%. Of, the best syllables from, 30 different takes. And then, he'd get this composite, and that was the chat GPT of it. Because that was like, okay, now this is AI. But then he'd say, okay, so we can either use this composite, which, 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't want him to use, just because it's a different sort of, feeling. Like, there's nuance that is different. But, the composite will become the example. And then it's like, if you can't do it as dope, give me a take like this or better, or the composite is what we're using.
100%. Because with that kind of was something that changed my mind. Because for me, I know as MCs, we pride ourselves on getting it in one take. Yeah, it's like, fuck it, this one take.
One take hove.
Yeah, whichever take is right, that's the first one. That's the one.
Yeah.
But like for him, I kind of started to see it more and looking at making records almost as like making a film, in the sense of that you're really just trying to capture the best performance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because
you
once
look
you
at
put
it
this thing
as
down,
scenes, right.
that's it. Like it's like that forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Was Rich as integrated in the live performance as he was in the studio?
He was our sound guy.
And, I mean, even in the way that you presented not just the sound of it all, but even the way that y'all presented yourselves on stage.
Yeah,
I mean, Rich built the myth of the Roots, because before us, your average band was maybe 96 dBs, which is like a normal listening experience. Rich was trying to create some Pink Floyd shit where we were 100.
Wall of sound, right?
Yeah, we were like 140 dBs. He would like, I mean, the whole idea of like echoes and all that stuff. Like he's because also the thing is that we weren't hit space. So we had to make the show exciting.
Right.
Yeah.
So was he like, I'm Rick, I'm gonna need you to work the stage more. Like I'm gonna need you to.
He would give notes like that. He would give notes like that. I mean, but you would be able to tell. You know what I mean? Like if we get done a performance and we get back to the dressing room and I'm like, yo, how was that shit?
Man, that shit
like,
sucked.
I mean, yeah. Like, he let you know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He wasn't going to. He wasn't very generous in that way. So even if he said that shit was cool, it meant it was fucking cool.
Yeah.
That best thing you can say is like, it was all right.
No, y'all are so right because I'm like, I remember the first and only time I got a compliment from Rich and it changed my life. Like,
Wait, I got a question along those lines. Tariq, I caught the Force tour like a month ago. It was in Boston. It was the last one. And my favorite thing is not just you as the leader of the Roots, but you as hype man. It was one of my favorite things to watch. Like LL and all of it was. I didn't know you were such a great hype man. Oh, man. I just don't know if you could speak to that and just like what it's like to be with some of your heroes or people you really respect and hype in front of them. It was far out. It was
for me, that's one of my favorite things to do is to be supportive. Like you know what I mean. I just enjoy, just sparring back and forth with those legends, like with people who, are the reason that I do what it is that I do. And many of whom just feel unsung or, underappreciated. It blows their mind, to realize that something they wrote when they were 14 or 15 or 16, that impacted me when I was 14 or 15 or 16. Now these 30 or 40 years ago, it still has a life, you know what I mean? So, a lot of these cats, I think the role that the Roots serves is we're connective tissue between a generation.
Y'all the bridge,
right?
Man.
You know what I mean? So we've been that bridge, and there's a lot of cats who, maybe at one point of their career were at a certain level and then they don't perform for a long while, and then when they have the opportunity to perform again, it's like is my music going to be right? Do they know my lyrics? Are these people familiar with what it is that I do? And the fact that they may be coming back with the Roots puts them at ease because of the way that like musically and from just a hype man standpoint, we're able to support them. So that's something that I've always just appreciated and enjoyed. And I'm not about on stage trying to, I don't want any attention on stage. Like, don't even look at me. Like, look at dude, just, I'm about the sound, right. So it works out for me in that way. But the Force tour was a dream come true in that we got to do that shit every day, All
right, so let me ask, probably one of the biggest myths of Black Thought is your relationship with freestyling. There's 3 particular stories I want you to talk about.
Okay.
All right.
And then we'll need you to do a 45-minute freestyle for us.
Okay, so of course I know that. Shout out to Espo from Philly for catching that clip of us in the alleyway, whatever, like doing the freestyle thing, which basically set your legend. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about? Do you remember the time?
Is this the Dred Scott story?
No. Han Solo.
That's right. Han Solo.
Yeah.
Do you remember that moment when we were at the Trocadero with Han Solo and we drove home and he freestyled that entire time in the back seat?
I do.
Did that have an impact on you? Because the next day you were like, you said it once, you're like, that's the level that I have to surpass. Like, can you talk about like how, if that had an impact on you as far as like rhyming on the spot? Because I've seen you do it in high school.
Yeah.
But kind of in a funny way, like battling, but.
There was, yes, to answer your question, I remember that night coming home from the Trop. I remember Han Solo freestyling and I remember the way it made me feel. Not necessarily threatened, but just, competitive. You know what I'm saying? The same way that I felt when I came up in the first time I saw Rahzel and Supernatural and Muhammad performing at that Boom Poetic thing, right? I came back to Philly like, yeah, what are y'all doing? You know what I mean? Like, fucking, dude, you're awake and you're not rapping? Like fucking like niggas in New York is, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, they fucking rapping right now, dog. Like, you know what I mean? You gotta be able to go, like off the top. Yo, bust a rhyme. See, you can't fuck. Like, that's how I was. So yeah, I think you know, it was more of that. You know what I mean? I wasn't necessarily. It wasn't like I didn't feel threatened, but I was just super competitive. You know, and I knew, you know, people who went to college with me, people who went to high school with me, they'll always tell you about, oh, this one time, you know, Tariq rapped for 3 hours, or we walked from here to here, or drove from here to there, and he never stopped rapping. But there was something, there was a gravitas, there was a seriousness in it that night, in what Hans was doing, that made me like, okay, like this is a thing. There was a level of mastery to it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I definitely, yeah, that was the takeaway.
So can you give your version, like I know Rich's version of the Kanye bathroom situation.
Yeah.
Do you remember we were backstage at Universal Amphitheater.
Right.
I didn't know who Kanye West was then. So I think like he just did get by, like he was hanging with Kweli or whatever. And Rich told me a story about how like, and again, because of the legend of Tariq's the best freestylist ever, you know, motherfuckers would just come up and think, you know, them rappers that want to rap just like, and I hate that too with musicians. Like musicians want to like, hey, let's have a jam session, or you know, start drumming and talk. And I'm like, I don't do that shit on my off hours or whatever. So Rich told me a story once about like you were changing for a show, whatever, and then Kanye decided, this is my moment, and just starts freestyling in front of you. Can you tell that story? Because I never heard your side of the story.
I mean, you know, like like back in the day, we would show up for our sessions. Kanye would be in there sometimes, you know what I mean? 88 Keys would be in there sometimes. They were down with Kenny Duro. They were down with, you know what I mean? You know, people who worked in studios who would give them a heads up, you know, on who had sessions, and they would be in there and trying to place their beats and rap for niggas.
Ambushes.
Right. And you know, my thing with Kanye was I would run into him more while we were shopping. So I would be in Atlanta or Chicago or LA at the place where, you know, everybody goes to get clothes. So whatever the poppin', you know what I mean, store is at the Barney's or, you know, Fred Siegel, whatever back in the day. And Kanye would always be in there and he would always see me. And now Kanye would be like, yo, what you got? You know what I'm saying? So he would be the type of person he wants to see everything you putting on the counter, you know what I mean? And he want to go back and see if he want to get that or if he want to switch out. So I would, you know, be sometimes in a store or in like a mall and Kanye's there, and now I'm grabbing shit to try and throw him off the center of the trail, make him think I'm gonna get this stuff, and that's not what I'm gonna get.
Oh, this is my Nietzsche.
The night that you're talking about, we showed up to our gig. It was Akon in the Roots and Erica, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And Kanye was there.
Shit, I forgot. Akon,
yeah, that was the night. First time I met Akon. He was over enough with it. And Kanye was in there, and he immediately goes into his shit of, oh shit, what's that? Oh, you got them Y3s? Oh, and then, oh, what's that? And he started like picking apart everything that I had on. So now I'm trying to get dressed, and my whole shit, like the reason why I was annoyed, it wasn't even that he started rapping or that he was talking about music. I was used to him doing that, but he was trying to, you know what I mean, like sort of pick my shit apart and be like, oh, you got to this, you got to that, you got to that. Oh yeah, oh, I'm up on that. You know what I mean? And it was like, that was what, I'm like, just get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm getting dressed, nigga. Like, I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? And I think that was, you know, that's what happened at Universal that night.
Okay. Last but not least, I have a theory about the Flex freestyle. Of which I knew how hard you and Malik prepared in '93. Like, the mentality of, like, yo, motherfuckers in New York are, you know, we gotta come with it. And I remember once, like, we were driving to New York and we were listening to like a Best of Bobbito and Stretch Armstrong thing, and we were like, wait a minute, that's a B-side. Oh, we've heard that rhyme before.
Right.
And it was kind of a there's no Santa Claus thing, realization, but you two still kept at it. I remember once you guys did a session which you did so many freestyles for all these name brand DJs that never wound up, like, there's volumes of freestyles that you've done that are probably still.
Yeah, it was like one of the MCA, like, we're going to promote, you know what I mean? Like, you know, for all the radio, mix show, right, yeah, I remember.
So for you, knowing that was your first time after 32 years of never being invited on Flex's show, were you in Kill Bill? I'm gonna show you not to ever deny me again, because that wasn't regular. That wasn't just like, oh. By minute 7, I was like, "Oh, this is a revenge mission."
No, I wasn't really on Kill Bill mode. You know, I was for me, I don't know if you recall, that was a Thursday that I did that joint. We had taped 2 Tonight shows. So I was tired. It was like 20 below zero, freezing cold. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't find parking. I had my assistant at the time, like, outside waiting in my car, like double parked. So it was just like the urgency of trying to, get in and out.
Get out, yeah.
And I knew, Flex and I had been texting back and forth for maybe 6 months at that point, just trying to figure out a window that made sense. And
what was that first text like when finally, like, he acknowledges that we're not Me 5? Nothing against Me 5 Me.
Yeah, no. I was,
Sorry,
I was
brother,
like,
Me 5 Me.
wow, you know what I mean? I think, it was definitely, I was surprised. I was surprised. And I don't know if I think leading up to that, Flex's olive branch, Flex's way to show that it was coming from an authentic place was he just started offering to spin for us. Like, yo, any Roots gigs y'all got, I'll pull up, I'll just rock for y'all. You know what I mean? I don't know if you remember that.
What was the moment that changed his mind?
I don't know, but you know what I'm saying?
Wait, didn't you do another? Oh, maybe the Method Man thing. Because even Jay hit me about the Method Man freestyle.
By the time I did the Method Man freestyle, Flex and I had already been talking for damn near a year about me coming up to Flex. The Method Man freestyle just took place because we were promoting that HBO show.
Okay.
And it's no way we could go somewhere and it's me and Method Man and they not ask us to rap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, when I did that Flex freestyle, it was like, rhyming off the top, rapping period. It only matters to, it's so niche. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to represent for those people who sort of gave a fuck, and I wanted to, it had to be one take because I had to get out of there. I was ready to go home. And
my fear was that he was just going to interrupt you and not let you finish. And
yeah.
All right, that's enough. And I was like, no. Okay, he let him go on.
Right.
But, for me, can you talk about, did that finally feel like a redemptive moment for you in which
you finally got your flowers?
It didn't. It felt, yes, that moment. You know what I mean? Like the moment that that followed.
Like, what'd you do that night when you got home?
I just chilled. Probably, wrote a little bit and went to bed. Yeah, I went to bed.
Really?
Yeah. It was.
I hate to say. Not that I hate to say. I actually cried.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't until. It wasn't until.
Seeing the reception.
Yeah, it started to go viral, and I saw folks retweeting it, and like reposting the joint. That's when it started to feel like, oh wow, because I never, I was still new, I guess, to social media. You know what I'm saying? Like I just really started rocking, with the Instagrams and Twitters of the world, relatively recently at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just dope. It's dope to be acknowledged.
To that point about social media, for you saying, when I'm on stage, like I don't want you to really see me at all. So how do you deal with now in the era of of music, just entertainment period, where you have to have that presence of some sort, some sort of presence online or?
It's a delicate balance. You know what I mean? I do. It's just gonna sound crazy. It's like I basically do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I do the bare minimum, and I'm able to still somehow feed my family. But there's a lot of what I do is also in exercise in overcoming, the anxiety associated with doing shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I do, like if I force myself to go and do a type 5 of stand up, like that's an exercise in me, just becoming more comfortable in my own skin in front of an audience without having any safety net.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know that you're heavy into stand up.
Yeah. I got heavy into stand up. I got heavy into, musical theater when I was, when I'm working on Black No More, that's what I'm doing.
Delirious was a series, basically, right?
Right. It is. It's still,
series.
Still a thing. And I'm now, heavy into, I think the medium with which we tell the story is ever evolving, but the story sort of remains the same. You know what I'm saying?
How do you? I was going to ask you about just your memory in terms of memorizing lines?
I hate his memory.
Yeah, like how do you go about just memorizing all of those? Like when you're doing a Roots picnic and
he hears something once.
Yeah, you'll just do just a verse. Like you'll just come up and just do a verse or something. How do you how do you log all that stuff?
I don't know, man. It's like I think I'm using the part of my brain that is, I don't know, I just tapped into, something that probably would otherwise have laid dormant if I didn't sort of force myself to, work with something outside of my muscle memory.
Wait, so to that point, the book, I found myself reading this and being like, fuck, I know Reek smokes, but the details.
Well,
not as much anymore though, right?
It doesn't even matter.
Like, have we traded
matter.
places?
A little bit.
It doesn't even matter. He smoked enough.
Places. But I think that's attributable to Rich's genius too.
Okay.
In that, just in the storytelling as a writer, he would challenge you to be as visual as possible and to conjure up that imagery. You know what I'm saying? To make you see and feel and smell a thing.
But to smell something like you're a 6-year-old, your 6-year-old self, that's deep. And to be able to describe that on paper.
Yeah, I guess it is.
So I have a question. So I'm writing a tell-all book right now, actually, about the two of you. Do you have any advice for somebody who wants to? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But and when's the rematch, the fight rematch? I think the audience wants to know that. It's all been love.
It'll be a cook-off now. It's gonna be a cook-off.
It's all good with love and hugs, but we want to know when the rematch.
Man,
is.
whatever.
Nah.
So okay, well I'll ask you, what are you allowed to talk about as far as Black No More is concerned? Because
we can talk about it.
It's so weird. Like when you started Black No More, Obama was president. So sort of in that
That's crazy.
House of Cards way, like you clearly knew it was going to be a satire because, it's never going to get that crazy.
And then
when
got
Trump,
crazier.
right. And then suddenly, once Trump was president, then it was like, oh, this is relevant to times now. So at one point it was an extreme satire, and then it became reality.
Yeah, that's the thing. At this point, it's not as far fetched as it was or as it felt, before the Trump and Biden administrations. You know what I mean? This was originally slated to to open off Broadway during the Trump elections. You know what I mean? I think there's some rejiggering that needs to take place. There's very much that needs to sort of be revisited, but just for the fact that what felt so dynamically sensational 6 years ago, 8 years ago, no longer feels that way. It's like that has been our reality and worse. You know what I mean? So much off the wall shit has happened.
For those who don't know, the Black No More is a book written by George Schuyler.
Yep.
I'm thinking it was like one of the first Afrofuturist books written in the 30s.
Came out in 1932.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and he basically it's a satire about a black man who changes his skin color, falls in love with a white woman, and now she's pregnant.
Right,
and she will eventually find out that. Yeah,
that's a show that was on Bravo last night.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like how do we?
How does he know? Because he watches Bravo.
Funny. We got to we got to sort of punch it up a little bit. I think just to make it more, as far fetched as it felt, at its onset.
Actually, you are one of the most random TV watching people I know. Like, what are you watching, and how do you pick? Because you and Jimmy will talk about the most random. You'll discover shit on QB or whatever, like Tubi.
Yeah.
I was like, who QB?
Well, QB was a.
That was Quibi.
Quibi.
Quibi was that was crazy.
That shit that lasted like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, what mindless shit do you watch, or like what shows are you?
Right now, I'm watching. Bass Reeves, Lawman Bass Reeves.
Catch up, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
What is that?
Lawman Bass Reeves is about this U.S. Marshal.
Oh, yeah.
First,
The
the first
Paramount
black
Plus
U.S.
show.
Marshal. Really, it's the character. It's the real life person that the Lone Ranger character was based on. You know what I mean? Which was
Based on a black person?
the Lone Ranger was based on a black person, but they wasn't gonna have.
Right.
You know what I mean, they like, let's make it a white man and put a mask on.
Oh, the mask is blackness.
But so Bass Reeves is this dope show that I've been watching recently.
It's in the Yellowstone family.
Yeah, it's in the Yellowstone family. And all
is Yellowstone worth it?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
This is what else I was going to say.
Come on,
anything Yellowstone, that's what I'm rocking with. Like 1923, 1883, that's
like
all my shit.
Sopranos level, like I must watch it.
Different. You know what I mean? I think I'm always excited when somebody could get period right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they got period right. You know what I mean? Every time. So
and also the inclusion of the indigenous culture and just giving us more context and letting them be human beings.
That's it. Yeah, they got it right. So
because I'll go on Apple TV and just see Yellowstone.
Right.
Watch it.
Fuck this.
Watch it.
It's a good show.
I'm watching that. I'm watching that now. Bass Reeves, Lawman Bass Reeves. I'm also watching, the Gilded Age. You know what I'm saying?
Have you seen Killers of the Flower Moon yet?
No, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't watched that yet. But
it's dope.
Fargo, the new season of Fargo, I'm up in that. Yeah. It's like four episodes in.
That's my shit. All right.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? And I've been, I keep coming back to, just because it's like I can never, even though it's only 3 episodes, I think they like an hour and a half long each. The American Buffalo documentary, Kim Burns, which is, it's not just about the buffalo, you know what I mean? It's really about America, and you talk about indigenous people, and I'm just a history buff in that way. So I've been rocking with that. I found out that it was out because Celia came home, and she was like, they made us watch this documentary today in school. I'm sure you would be into it. I was like, what is it? I don't know what the fuck I'd be into. Like, what is it? She was like, it was about the American buffalo. I was like, yo, really? That's me, yeah. Do tell. And come to find out, it was Kim Burns, and I was like, oh, shit. Like, hell yeah. So I've been watching that only because I have to watch a Kim Burns documentary maybe like 5-6 times to take in all the information.
You fuck with rap shit on HBO?
Yeah.
Show?
I watched the first season.
The second season is better. I mean, the first season's good, but the second season is good.
I haven't seen second.
Every father's
season
impression of their teenage daughter is exactly the same. Because I don't know this. I don't know that. Fuck you. You don't know anything.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yep.
Oh, do your kids are they aware? Like, are you dad? Are you, or are they like? Do you catch them listening to your music, or? Is it too wordy for them?
No. I catch Ahmir listening to my music. He does his little playlist and stuff, and sometimes even his playlist of other music that he's listening to in the shower and all that. It's dope to see that he's somehow found music that I was listening to when I was in my 20s too, without me having to say, let me put you onto it.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that. And Celia, does the same thing. She listens to my music.
She's a hip hop head?
She is a little bit, Yeah, she's becoming a hip hop head. But Tariq, he's never been into any of my music. The only roots thing that Tariq has resonated with him, not our Disney Junior stuff, as what you would think.
Right.
It's the Blackish.
I was about to ask about Blackish.
The Juneteenth Blackish thing.
Oh, okay.
That's and that put him on to the whole Schoolhouse Rock world, and he started listening to the original "I'm Just a Bill" and all the original Schoolhouse Rock shit, and then the new Schoolhouse Rock shit, and then the new Schoolhouse Rock shit, all just from our Blackish segment. Okay. So there's that, you know what I'm saying? But what he's up on, and what I'm still trying to dissect, because it played out the same way with Kamal's kids, who were like, 2 and 6 or 2 and 8. Mm-hmm. No, Tariq is 8. Maybe Kamal's kids, the youngest kids, are 2 and 6. Mm-hmm. They all know every word the mama said, knock you out. And they saw LL perform it the couple times that they came to the shows with us. But for some reason, this is the first rap song Tariq's known all the lyrics to. Kamal's little baby, you know what I mean? Cash, like they know all of the, from Don't Call It a, and I'm like, that's what I need to tap into. Damn. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, they don't be, my son,
but we talked about that when L was on the show.
None of my children have ever sang one of my joints the way Tariq sings, Don't Call It a Comeback. I'm like, how the fuck?
I mean, you make physical movements in the song.
Right. So there's definitely something in that resonates with kids, and that's why I told you, I was like, we need to use that joint that we wound up. I was like, because it might be something in that, and I don't know if it's the music or the lyrics or the marriage.
I shall return to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we redid Mama for the NBA
mid-season,
the mid-season tournament thing.
Okay,
and my initial idea, I knew they wanted Mama Said Knock You Out, but also LL is kind of in this place where it's like, man, I'm not a legacy act, like that sort of thing. But the people that write the text are like, nah, man, we just just do your song from 1990, please, and take this check. So I was like, all right, let me find a happy meeting. So I actually did something dope where I reversed, because I'm also working on the Slide movie.
Right.
I have access to the masters, so I was like, all right, let me reverse the song. And you know, like what Terminator X at the Edge of Panic was to Rebel Without a Pause, like the sirens going backwards.
Right.
So I did a backwards version of that shit, and it sounds dope as shit. And even LL was like, let's not give this to them. Like, let's do it. So
Even LL was like, God is great.
right. So,
But in terms of a Roots album, man, we see you working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How you know, been dropping projects left and right. In terms of, you know, a Roots record, now that Rich is no longer here in that role, who is in that role for y'all?
scariest thing in my life.
Yeah, there is. You know, I don't know that there's anyone in that role.
Or do y'all need someone?
I think no.
Tariq and I have to be in that role.
Yeah, we've had to extend ourselves, not necessarily overextend, but we've had to extend ourselves in order to fill in that gap. You know, because Shawn, though he is, he's an innovative. He's not necessarily a creator. You know what I mean? He's a business mind. He's an innovative mind. He's not a creative, and that was the beauty of the balance between him and Rich, was like, you know what I mean, hot and cold. You know, so there's that. But I think in terms of an album being done, I think we got plenty of material. I think it's just going to boil down to, you know, Ahmir and I being excited enough in any moment to do the mixes necessary to say, all right, this is the 10 songs or 12 songs or however many that are going to be out. But we got enough joints, you know?
We have more than enough. For me, once a week, I get excited about something else, and then I'll replace it and replace it and replace it.
But see, that's the problem, because really, wouldn't Rich be the one to come in and be like, motherfucker, put that
Rich
shit
is the
out?
king. Which is like the In Your Dreams thing. The In Your Dreams thing got shelved because it was just like, look, we got to wrap up Do You Want More?
Yeah.
We're not going to get this shit done in time.
Yeah.
So
I think
that's the one thing I don't have, which is like, all right, no more new songs.
There's value in our procrastination, in that, you know, once we put out anything, then it's out. Right now, the bar is where the bar is. What the Roots brand means to people is what it means. So yeah, I think there's something in that. I think the whole, what makes the Roots is the fact that we've always, you know, thought and then overthought, right, in the process. So I think now, the idea is to pull it back a little bit. We don't need to overthink, but I think we still need to be as considerate in the process as we, you know, have in the past, because that's the difference. When people say, yo, what's the difference in me, in the Roots, and me on somebody else's shit? It's like, I'm just gonna pull up and I'm gonna almost go with the first thing that comes to my mind. That's why Streams of Thought is called Streams of Thought, because it's like, it's as close to freestyle as, you know what I mean? I'm just letting it's the first thing that I think of, which, you know, and many times is dope and, you know, is witty and funny, but it's not what we do in the Roots. It's not Rich challenging me to, you know, write something that's gonna fucking, you know, resonate just reading it off the page. That's not what I have to do if I'm in the studio with Ninth or Salam or Shawn Gee. And that's part of, you know, that's what informs it and makes it, it's a dope exercise, because it's not as, it's not something that, I won't say I don't take it as serious, but it's just a different process.
I understand.
You know what I mean?
Exactly
It's a different process, you know? So, I mean, I think in that, like, you know, the Roots album, especially based on what dictates enough material to be an album in this day and time, we've got multiple new Roots albums done.
Do you feel like y'all have anything to prove on the album front? Like, what would be the...
So the one thing that has occurred to me, like, And Then You Shoot Your Cousin came out in 2014.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're going on the 10th year. And I probably have done 20,000 hours of DJing. Now, the DJing that I've done post-2014 is different than the DJing I've done pre-2014, in which, you know, jams are far and few between. And I'm the kind of guy that, unless, like, I'm doing a gold party or, like, it's a high-pressure situation where it's like, all right, well, Drake's here, so let me play some trap, like the shit he knows. I'm always the guy that, like, I now know how to read my audience in a way that I didn't before. Whereas before I was obsessed with letting you know, I got that Japanese Prince bootlegs that you don't got. And, you know, I'm not looking at the floor clearing and none of that shit. I'm so hyper aware of what works and what doesn't work as a DJ that now as a creator,
it's starting to bleed into it.
I can't divorce myself from it. So now I'm thinking of like, is this the right BPMs? Where's the melody at? What should we talk about? Like things I never thought about before. Like, will this resonate with the audience?
In recent years, you know, like when Ahmir gives me a beat or like an idea for a composition, he does a whole separate track now of just like a guide track of him saying, okay, like, you know, the verse can start here. You can talk about this here. And then, okay, like here you can do something like, what was like now, I'm like, nigga, just write the rhyme. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he's definitely, you know, just paying attention to a lot more of the detail
but I think that speaks to y'all's evolution. I think that's a good thing. I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing, because you have new information now.
Yes, I'll be calling you Phonte. That's your bottom joint.
Oh, I mean, okay, but I was
as soon as I concentrate. But also, the movie was unexpected. Like, you know, the movie was a thing that let me just pass the time in the pandemic, and now it's like, oh God, now I got two careers.
Right.
So I'm trying to think of things that like the internet always wanted to know. I'm not asking any Masterpiece Theater questions because it's like, dude, he's done like so many solo records. But what I will ask is, what 5 MCs that are least expected for us to know you dig? Because the second time we talked about rap shit, he sold me on Turn This Mother Out. Right. And I'm like, Hammer? And I joked once on what had happened was that I'm almost certain that our love of Apache or rhyming over Apache had more to do with Turn This Mother Out than it did Men at Work. But Tariq is instantly Tariq sold me on it. Yo, you know about NWA? And I'm like, dude, they got Jerry curls. I ain't listening to this shit. And he's like, but listen to this. And then he played me Turn This Mother Out. I'm like, you like MC Hammer? I thought like Greg Nice was corny. And he's like, no, man. But that's the thing. Like, Tariq has a way of listening to anything. Like, I go on the tour bus and listen to 8-Ball and MJG.
Hell yeah.
I was like, I will never listen to Pastor Troy in this lifetime. And then suddenly, like, I'm Pastor Troy's #1 fan. So it's like Tariq's put me on to so much unorthodox things that normally my snobby East Coast era ass. Like, what MCs are like your under-championed, non-obvious ones? Non-Kane,
from back in the day?
Or just current, period.
Yeah, current.
You know, I think Special Ed is an unsung, hero in that, his album, The Youngest in Charge, you just talk about just the power of youthful expression. And Special Ed was 14 years old. I look at my kids at 14, it's like, when it's like, if I'm in a moment where I have to just rap a rap, I'm gonna pull from, anywhere. I rap from anybody's catalog, shit that you don't even remember you wrote. But one of the, rhymes that I often do is, I was proven effective by a clinical test because some couldn't come to believe I'm the best. So they tested me, and now they in the clinic. They almost arrested me because I did it. But I didn't mean to do it. You had to mess with me, and then you blew it. Now you got to chew it, swallow it all. I guess that's the way that you bounce a ball. Like, this is a 14-year-old wrote that, and that's timeless. Like, I can, no matter what the sound bed is, the music that I put it over, like, those bars will forever like reign poetic, and you bring something up in folks that hear it.
Legal was my one. You Wish You Could. That was my one.
Oh yeah, that was another. Special Ed was just super dope. So I think he's one of those ones. I think Cool Keith. You know what I mean? For the whole, I think Cool Keith, man, shit. I mean, he was like, the Thelonious Monk of this shit. In that, his shit didn't even have to rhyme. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And they were ahead. Him and said, like, Ultramagnetic MCs were ahead of their time in so many ways. So yeah, I think Cool Keith is another one. Greg Nice, these are, I think, just geniuses that I was able to recognize and latch on to, in that it's something from their body of work that I've extracted. That I still I kicked all of the above. I kicked their bars every day, like the shit just came out.
Is there anybody currently, if we was to ask?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I rock
when I saw you in at the Roots with the Force Tour, you was rocking Mock Homie in the
Mock. Yeah, that's my ace. You know what I'm saying? He was in the studio with us just the other night.
Okay.
Mock, I think he's one of those ones. Someone who again understands just a sensibility of a person who's been around since the 90s, but who's also in just some ways just feels still cutting edge, right? And I think his association with the whole Griselda family and that movement, but the way that he's distinctly different is huge too. You know what I mean?
I saw you did. We were on the same album, Your Old Droog.
Yeah, that's it. That's the second person I was about to name.
Man, that's
and Your Old Droog is actually he's my connection to Mock Homie. But he's another one. When Your Old Droog came out, I didn't rock with it because I felt like
I thought it was Nas.
Yeah, I thought his voice. I thought he sounded too much like Nas, and I'm not. I'm huge on. Being original, you know what I mean? And I was like, nah, I'm not rocking with that shit. Like, I think it was Hoodie Season or one of those first joints, but I met him on the road opening up for Royce and Premier when they were doing their Prime tour. And we sort of hit it off. And you know what I mean? I've been, I talk about mentorship and, just artists that we share demos with one another and I'm able to just, offer sage wisdom and they're not going to catch feelings if I say I don't like this one and I like that one. He's been one of those artists. And over time, I was trying to get at Mock and he was non-responsive until Drew put us on the same song and then, sort of connected us, And now, he and me and Mock be rocking. But Your Old Drew, he's another one, man. He's just super dope. And, I had to give it up, because he proved that he was the real deal.
I just want to say that we've spent a lot of time here with Black Thought, but I need everybody to realize who hasn't read this book that we probably only covered about 2 to 3 of his talents. Now, in this book, there is history that gives you history on his gourmet cooking talents, because yes, he's a gourmet chef. There's history to his visual arts talents, because that's what he went to school for. There's also history.
The singing talents. The singing.
I was just about to say this. The man sang in the choir, and I was shocked. I was like, but I just, sorry.
Listen, I can sing. Phonte can sing.
Yes. But I just wanted to throw that out there as we are, wrapping this up, and I just feel like it's just so much.
As most people say, read the book.
Read the book.
But nah, man, I just want to say, man, before we go, dude, you have really been, what I'm saying? I mean, first to even say that you felt threatened. I mean, that's just the craziest shit ever. Because when I got that call, I was jumping off the damn wall. I was like, what? Like, I'm like, hell yeah. So, but nah, man, you've been one of the people that I watch and has been an example of how to age in hip hop, and like how to do it gracefully and tastefully. You know what I mean? So my question for you was, who or did you have anyone as an example to say, okay, this is what hip hop looks like at 40 or 50? Like, this is a model. Did you have that?
I mean, not that I didn't. I mean, yes, I did have that, but I don't know that I was as aware of it or just tapped into the example as it was being set.
Yeah.
But I look at people like the LL Cool J's of the world, and even though it's been a long time, since he's done a tour, right? Just the example of being one of the earliest like multi hyphenates, right? You know what I mean? Just the whole polymath of it all, like with the example that him and Ice-T, set as far as like reinvention, I think was dope. And I think, the example of being a class act, is what resonated with me like the most with artists. Like, the reason LL is around and still matters and, like people care, about all these other endeavors, what it is that he's doing is because he's personable. And he's nice to folks, and he is conscious about leaving a place or a person or a thing better than he sort of found it. And I learned that the first time I've inducted LL into like 3, national archives at this time. But the first time I did it, it was me and Eminem and Jazzy Jeff, and it was like the hip hop honors thing.
Yeah.
And he called me the next day. I'm like, he found my number, Boom, I'm on. They called me. Yo, Tariq's on the phone for you. Yo. LL Cool J. I'm like, yo, it's like, yeah, B, I just want to thank you for, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, the way you represented B last night, yo, it's huge.
Crazy, man.
You know what I'm saying? It's huge. But like, yo, but it's those, LL is going to call you. LL is going to send you a handwritten thank you note.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I, sent LL a DM jokingly, like, yo, I see everybody, doing these unboxing they, Rock the Bells jackets. Where my joint at? Like, 72 hours later.
Wow.
This is from LL Cool J. You know what I mean? I got my jacket. And,
Wait a minute, what?
Yeah. It's just
I get my shit. What the fuck?
Send that message.
DM,
Yeah,
man.
I got a rock.
Hit him in the DMs.
I think that is an example of how to to age, to grow, to evolve gracefully in this game. I think another dope example has been set by Dana, like Queen Latifah.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
100%,
Just and these are people who, like, what they do, the challenges that they're able to continue to rise to is what gives me reassurance. Like, yo, I probably could do all this shit. Out of all the people that I know, right, I've never known anyone in my circle or even remotely, distantly connected to my circle that has never given up on a thing and didn't, make it. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody that I know who shit didn't work, who, fell off the rails, they gave up.
Quit, yeah.
They quit. Niggas who I know a bunch of people who didn't quit and they've all gone on to greatness. So I think there's something in that. And I try to just be more cognizant of those examples again, like when they're being set, because a lot of the shit is a blur.
Nah, man.
Okay, let me get the last word.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you get us a part 2 while you getting the last word? Make sure you make him tell her that he coming back.
I want to do a part 2. Yeah, I'm down to do that.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, so anyway, as I was saying, rude interruption from the audience. Rude. Nah, man. Look, I will say without being as mushy as possible, and this is real maturity right here. Well, Tariq. No one ever gets that reference. No. Here's the deal. In my first book, when they were like, all right, do a dedication.
And Mo Better Blues.
And Mo Better, right. And they was like, do a dedication. And I was like, I just want to say, well, Tariq. And that's it. And, the publisher was like, well, ellipsis after it? I said, he's going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to understand it. No, like, well, Tariq was always, and the way that manifesting works is whenever we would like to take the trains back from like busking or whatever, like we would have a ritual of like getting Famous Amos cookies, getting orange juice, and either watching Do the Right Thing or Cape Fear. And as we're walking home, like 2 a.m.
Very related films.
Nigga, them the 2 movies?
Yeah, it's like as one does. You watch one or the other. Like, come on, yo.
I'm with it. I just did see it.
We didn't have streaming, but we have options now. We didn't have that back then. And the thing was, I do some sillies with like, well, Tariq, man, we just did like 2 months in Europe straight. But I'm saying shit as if it would never going to happen to us in a lifetime.
Right. Yeah.
Like, damn, Tariq, we just played in front of like 12,000 people at the Philadelphia Spectrum, man, and we're only home for like 3 hours before we gotta get up at 4 a.m. and catch this flight to like Colorado. We be laughing like, man, like whatever, and not knowing that we're literally manifesting
into existence. Yeah.
So I would always start some shit with, well, Tariq, and I'll just simply say thank you.
Yeah.
And that's a very loaded thank you. Without being super mushy about it. And I'm a mushy person.
That's enough.
Yeah. Good.
Just fight again.
On behalf of
thank
Suga
you, man,
Steven,
for real.
yes,
For
on
real.
behalf of Suga
Seriously, bro.
Steven,
Thank you.
Unpaid Bill,
We love
and
you.
Phonte Coleman,
Love you, bro.
and Mama
for
over
real.
here. Thank you.
Thank y'all for having me.
The great Tariq Trotter on Questlove Supreme. You guys can stop asking me. This is a Roots episode. See you on the next go round, y'all. Thank you.